Hello friends, I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's fantastic. Everything here is great. Tomorrow, the next generation of Pokemon games, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, come out. And I'm curious to know, are you going to be picking it up? If so, which version? Did you grow up in the with Pokemon, or were you already an adult? Like, there's a whole lot of things I'm curious about because I intend to pick it up. But M is really indifferent, which is strange because M grew up with Pokemon. Like, that she is the target audience, right? She was, very young when they came out, and so she hit, like, I don't know, one of the early, like, not, I think she was too young when Red and Blue or Red and Green came out, or Yellow or whatever. But by the time, some of the later generations was her age group. And so she's loved Pokemon her whole life. Whereas I was an adult when I first learned about Pokemon. I was a Marine at the time, and I really didn't know much about it. And then this card game craze happened, and people in America started playing Pokemon. And so I had kind of, like, I was already beyond that stuff, age-wise. So I didn't play Pokemon until... I'm saying this, but maybe I'm wrong. I might have borrowed a Game Boy or something and tried it in the late 90s and didn't get it. I didn't understand it. But I didn't actively attempt to play Pokemon until, like, the 2010s, like 2012, 13, 14, somewhere in there where I ended up getting a smartphone that was able to run emulated games, and I played Fire Red on my phone. Was the first Pokemon experience I had. And I enjoyed it, asterisk. Like, I got it. I understood it. I understood why it was popular. I understood that for a lot of people, the completion aspect of the game is the game. Like, that's what they care about. They want to catch all the Pokemon. But I also found it to be very... lacking in terms of not necessarily complexity. That's not really the word I'm looking for, but there's not a lot of real decisions. Like, there's not a whole lot of stuff to figure out. You just kind of play the game, and you get a couple of Pokemon, and you just win all of your fights. Like, it's really not. There's not like, oh, there's 100 Pokemon, and I really need to find my favorite team. You could pretty much just pick 6, and that's it, and just run the game. Like, and you don't really need to do all the swapping that. But I got it. I understood that I wasn't the target audience. I'm still not the target audience, right? It's still targeted to kids. All of those games were targeted to kids. And they teach decision making. They teach, they teach some really interesting gaming concepts. It's kind of like playing Chutes and Ladders or whatever it's called in your country. It teaches gaming concepts without really taxing the young mind and making the young mind feel stupid for making bad decisions. Pokemon lets you make bad decisions and you'll probably still be okay. So as a grown-up, avid gamer playing those games, they're pretty lacking. But I still found it enjoyable. And so since then, I have played, well, that's not true. Since the Switch, I have played all the Pokemon releases on the Switch, and I've really enjoyed myself each time. The thing is, Arceus, the game that came out this previous, like, January, February, whatever, Legends, Arceus, was phenomenal. Best Pokemon experience I've ever had. Really, really, really good game. Not only did it have a much different approach to how Pokemon are captured, how Pokemon are fought, how Pokemon evolve, it had a lot more RPG elements where you actually had to try to do things in certain ways. It had side quests, had all kinds of really fun stuff, and a much more open world, kind of go where you want. And you had to go back to previous places to, do side quests later on in the game. It was a It was a normal RPG with a Pokemon theme. And I loved it. Tomorrow, what's coming out is just another Pokemon game. And that's kind of how I'm starting to think about it, but I'm still going to pick it up, I think. And I understand why M is kind of like, eh. Like, she's played them all, and they've never changed. They're the same exact formula over and over and over again because it works. Because you're not the target audience anymore. Like, Pokemon is still targeted to young children, 8, 9, 10, something like that. They're not targeted to people who have grown up with the franchise. Does that mean it's not enjoyable? No, I think it'll still be enjoyable. I'll still have fun, if nothing more, exploring regions, finding new Pokemon who I've never seen before. I always enjoy doing that. Even though once you've found them, so what? Like, their moves are just obvious. Like, you know, it doesn't matter. I enjoy uncovering new things. Hopefully, there'll be a little bit more of the overworld type stuff, which, you know, people seem to have various opinions on. But I'm curious to know. You know, I made the mistake of loading up some Metacritic scores earlier and was like, okay, that's kind of what I expected. It's actually higher than I expected. If you're trying to avoid it, just plug your ears real quick. But it's coming in right around a 75, which is actually significantly higher than I expected. I expected it to be more around 60, 65. Because it is just the same game, just with new Pokemon, the same exact go through the trials, go through the gyms, get your badges. Like, it's the same exact game. The combat is practically meaningless to the game for somebody my age. But we'll see. I don't know. I am at least hopeful that there'll be something interesting, you know. With Sword and Shield, there was the Gigamax or whatever it was called. I don't remember what it was called. I think that's from the card game. When the Pokemon get bigger, like, okay, that doesn't really mean anything. It wasn't an interesting gameplay element. Playing whatever the ones that came out after Arceus, which was an older generation game, where they had the ability to fight two Pokemon at the same time. That was the first time in a Pokemon game I was like, oh, this is really cool, because this is like, there's actual decisions to be made about which Pokemon I send out and who fights who. Like, neat. Maybe that'll come back. I don't know. I'm just curious to know, are you picking it up? Are you excited for it? Are you not excited for it? Were you excited previously and now aren't? Like, what's your history with it? I'd love to know. So let me know in the comments. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know to sound smart is onomatopoeia. It is a noun meaning words that sound like or suggest their meaning. The spring gala, with its popping corks, fizzing champagne glasses, and thumping music, was a cornucopia of onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia. O-N-O-M-A-T-O-P-O-E-I-A. That's a good word. But I think I want to know how many times gala is in the descriptions of these words. Somebody's having way too many galas. Gala? Did we ever figure out what the correct pronunciation is?